Welcome back after lunch, and welcome back to the second half of day 2 of Proof of Talk. I am your host, Nova Lorraine, and happy to guide you through the rest of the day here. Now we have our panel that will be discussing building trust in Web3 protocols. And I'm going to ask you to give them a warm welcome as I bring them up on stage. And the first person I'm going to welcome on stage is Jiang, CBO of CertiK. Welcome to the stage. Denis Ivanov, CPO of Hacken. Welcome. Day 2, Proof of Talk. Oliver, aka Ali Quie, co-founder and CEO of Innerworks. Welcome to the stage. And last but not least, our moderator for today is Thomas Menard, White Hat Hacker. Welcome, Thomas. Enjoy.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. My name is Thomas Menard, also known under the username Mevenrecht online. I'm a white hat hacker and entrepreneur. I co-founded the leading on-chain investigation company in this country and building other things beside like access management protocol. And today I'm going to be moderating the panel alongside some of the biggest experts in the industry. And I'm going to let you guys introduce yourself also before we go into the questions. Yeah, let's go.
Hi, my name is Jiang from CertiK. CertiK was established in 2018. We're considering ourselves as one of the largest security service provider in this industry. And yeah, we've been serving a lot of clients in our past, and we're continuing building new products to meet the new demand in this industry. And very happy to be here. Thank you, Thomas.
Dennis?
Hi everyone, my name is Denis. I'm a CPO at Hacken, responsible for developing new products at this very fast developing market. Hacken is also very was established a long time ago, 2017, so it's almost 8 years. We did a bunch of different security stuff, from consulting to layer 1's audits, and working with different kind of enterprises in Europe and with regulators as well. So love to be here and to share the experience. Thanks.
Hey everybody, my name's Ollie and I'm co-founder and CEO of Innerworks. We're a London-based cybersecurity company working on user and device intelligence. So we simply tell businesses which of their users we think are human or not, what device they're using, and where we think they're geographically located. We'd consider that the real fundamental pillars of cybersecurity, and our connection with the crypto world is we have a large-scale ethical hacking platform that's built as a subnet on BitTensor, subnet 61 red team. And yeah, real pleasure to be here.
Thank you guys for the introduction. So I've prepared a list of questions we're going to go through, and obviously we're going to try, because we've been asked to do that, to have an interacting panel. So if you guys want to interact with us or ask questions, feel free to raise the hands, and we'll be able and happy to answer. So first question is the verification enough, like verification of the code enough to build trust as a protocol? And if yes, how to avoid the audit washing now that audit became a marketing badge in a way? Audit verification, like code verification.
I'll start. So we think that the audit is a necessity in this space. And kudos to everyone that works in the security space in this industry. We made auditing as one of the almost like a required step for it, for the security. However, is it enough? Definitely not. We think that as the technologies from like AIs or faster chains enabling us, more on-chain monitoring activities can be achieved in real time, and so it's So the demand for the auditing is certainly there, but at the same time to ensure the security or improve the security of the crypto industry, on-chain monitoring is playing a bigger role in this space.
Yep, completely support. I believe that audit should be seen as a snapshot once in a time, and a very important snapshot of some specific piece of code, not the entire infrastructure. And this is very, very clear that like one audit of one smart contract is not the safety of the protocol. And you need to look at the whole infrastructure, and 70% of the infrastructure might be the Web2, not smart contracts at all. And understanding in real time all type of risks, having ability to prevent them, having ability even to understand them, becoming much more needed. But audits are definitely there, and we think about it as a Swiss cheese model that you need to just set a layers of security. Only at this stage you are protecting your protocol, your code, and your customers at the end.
So our view would be the most important auditors of any protocol are the people that have successfully exposed some kind of vulnerability, right? And that may be a contracted firm, but it also might be a malicious actor that's led to some incident. A lot of the work that we do has been incentivizing the real fringe and also extremely sophisticated actors that are capable of infiltrating these systems. I think it's a massive opportunity and challenge for the industry to be able to involve live market feedback into improvement of their security protocols. But yeah, it's amazing to be sat with two leaders within the industry of within protocol auditing. But it's extremely important that companies like ourselves all work very closely together.
Can I add about the washing as well? Because I believe it's very interesting piece that why audits are so important right now and why it's a stamp. Because there was a market demand to have this stamp. Because having an audit proved that you did at least something for your security. But now we are saying to industry constantly, I believe both of our companies and many, many more, that you need to do more. You need to evolve with your security as you are growing as a company. And it's also market demand to see this evidence, not only as audit stamps, but to have much more inside, like security operations centers inside, CISA inside the companies, and so on.
So would you say that audit itself act like a timestamp in a way, like saying like a snapshot at this time, this was secure, and we're going to do this over like maybe 3 times a year or once every quarter, just to make sure that the new implementation are secure also?
I completely agree with Jason that it's an essential part, but if you are changing the code and the changes are big enough, you definitely need to re-audit it to eliminate any type of new vulnerabilities that are there. And you definitely need to constantly monitor how everything is interacting with your contracts, your infrastructure, and it's not all the time about the smart contract.
Interesting. So we have the chance today in the panel to have like people that have been in this space for a very, very long time. You guys, like both CertiK and Hacken, have seen the space evolving alongside the years and also the trend, like the type of vulnerability that we had, and have some more fresh eyes with what you guys are doing now. What would you say is the underlying problem that still needs to be solved when it comes to like security in general? When someone tries to design a protocol, for example, that's still missing, that you've seen being the problematic for years and years and still being the problem today?
That's a tough question. Excellent question. I think in our opinion, I think what's missing in the past and still missing, but should be fixed in the very near future, is the compliance part of it. For the reason that by nature, the blockchain rewards has this decentralization ideology behind it. And it's been, kudos to everyone here that's been part of the building this, the blockchain technology and creating this hype and creating this phenomenon in this real world, trying to solve the real world problems. But more and more we're seeing is that we have to hug compliance at some point. And then we have to allow the regulatory concerns to be integrated into our systems. And I would say that this is something that's really lagging at this point. I think as a security company, we've been doing some of the works, or advocate some of the works. I know Hacken is doing quite a bit of work with ADGM. We've been working on the Asia part and also the US part. And then how to get this, allow this, centralized idea, to be integrated into your design, into the protocols. That will be a challenge, but it's something that we have to start thinking about it now.
I would get a little bit from different angle and get to the same point actually.
Okay.
We need to understand the difference between Web3 startups and projects and Web2. And the difference is that then you are small and you are trying to find this product market fit. You are doing things very fast and the things are breaking all the time. But in Web2, not all liquidity is at stake. In Web3, it is the case. That's why you need to...
On DeFi protocol, yes.
Yes, that's why you need to put much more effort and intention to the things that shouldn't be broken, basically. That's why you definitely need to put security in mind while you're building something from the beginning. At the same time, all of Web3, it's about to find the proper use case and how to get to the billion and next billion users. And here is the regulation, here is the compliance. Because with the regulation, the enterprise-grade companies are going to enter, utilize the technology, and use everything that have been building for last 5-7 years. And the logic here is how to make the regulation soft enough to give ability to startups to innovate as well, but good enough for enterprise to utilize everything that has been built already.
So I know I'm supposed to ask a question, but I also want to participate on this. I've got a strong opinion here, which might not be shared, and I would like you to challenge that. I think that early stage startup, when it comes to DeFi mainly, should be fully open source because it's a way for them to attract white hat hacker or people around the space with very little risk because they can build fast, break, being hacked, fixed, and then the day they want to upgrade something and have the sensitive information locked, they can go closed source and upgrade from this because they have the front end, the trust from the community. But I know it's something that is, I'm getting challenged all the time by protocol that I'm talking to, saying like, yeah, but we want to protect what is new and hard tech. I think that it's better to expose something new that you will have credit from people that know what they're talking about than trying to protect something that might never reach the market because you've been hacked very, very early. So what do you think about that? Like, is open source helping to protect? I'm going to turn that into a question. Is open source helping to protect, or is it a risk for people now?
I think there are very few examples of where decentralized protocols have been a true enabler of trust. And that may sound controversial, but the main point I would like to make is if you were to look at the user population of any high-scale Web3 protocol and were to ask a simple question, how many authentic, unique users do they truly have? And we know from working on the inside that these companies can't answer that question. If you ask a bank, or even if you ask PayPal, they will know. There'll be a degree of there'll be a margin for error, but there is a huge delta between the user intelligence of Web 2 companies and Web 3 ones. And to answer your question of how can open source fix that issue, we are an example of a company where we came to crypto for a security motivated reason. We were attacking detection systems and then reverse engineering detection techniques for the stuff that worked. And do you want to bet on 15 engineers doing that or a huge ecosystem and a large population that are incentivized to help improve it? That's one example. But I think it's, when we look at the transition from the other way around, when we look at companies like Telegram or X that are now trying to use wallet-based infrastructure and moving to challenge traditional payments firms, for example, they would be the use cases I would look at as being some of the first really, really significant examples of very, very high scale open sourcing as an enabler of trust.
We already have like literally 90% of the infrastructure in the world is running on Linux, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Linux is open source, and 90% of the stack that I'll build on top of it are also open source. So we already have example in the traditional space in Web 2, and I think it's a little bit of a bummer to not do that in Web 3, where we're supposed to be like the decentralized open network.
Yeah, I think code is law still is a principle in the Web 3, and I think I'll be supporting that. Definitely. I mean, we're just experiencing the growing pain of this crypto industry, and and the phenomenon you just described, it does exist. By being very open sourced, it's open for it's easier to be attacked, but the survivors will become stronger. That's my opinion.
I also agree that open source is the best scenario. At the same time, I believe that everything depends on the use case. And Web3 is a technology that we believe is going to be used in very different domains, and not all the domains are supposed to be open source. If we are saying about some security technologies that are going to protect like protocols and projects, they might not be open source because it's the additional path to understand the tactics that are protecting you. And for example, we believe that there are going to be enterprise private blockchains. It's also not a case of the open source. So everything is a use case.
Okay. I'm taking this argument for sure. I would respond that we could have like homomorphic encryption or whatever that we can use to put the data on something public, so people can just make sure that the code is secure and the infra is working, but they cannot access the data. But that's a good point. I think on the defense area and things like this, obviously there is some use case that needs to be protected because it's a geopolitics / defense strategic argument. So yeah, good point on this. Next question is, what would you recommend to a very early protocol to implement, or the way they should think their protocol or their application in order to build a secure, or at least the most secure as possible, like for example, open Zeppelin standard, things like this? What are the best practices that you would recommend as auditor, or you as, let's say, a platform that could help them to reach their market in a way? What would you recommend?
I mean, one thing that I think these guys can relate to a lot is, don't start building security protocols off as concurrently with incident response. building and flying, that is building and flying the plane at the same time. So almost all of the clients that we meet, for example, have either very recently been, have had a security breach. And so I think having a proactive approach for an early stage protocol probably has to be a conversation about how their interests of growth are aligned with security, because an early stage founder is not going to prioritize expenditure unless they can understand how it's going to benefit their bottom line. And in my view, there's a very strong argument to make to early stage protocol builders to explain to them that if you can be extremely secure and have a verified or authenticated community, is a huge differentiator still.
100%.
We think, from CertiK point of view, I think modularization is probably one of the a good practice. But we understand that protocol being a protocol, they wanted to bring some innovations to the industry as well. So that part of it, it's hard to modularize it. But at the same time, when you design your protocol from the ground up, you want to think about how to group them together, group the features together, and then makes it easier for the future growth as well.
So would you say that you would recommend a protocol to do, for example, when you come to contract, to do an upgradable contract at the beginning so they can fix and then switch to an immutable contract later, or? Yes and no, because for immutable contracts, if it's a bulletproof, then definitely that's the best way to do it. However, when some incident happens, then that stops. It becomes hard to stop. So I think again, if it's a modularized and then it's a proven design, then yeah, make it immutable, and then the others make it upgradable. But transparency is also a very key in this space. You want to make your white paper up to date. Make sure that the users and the community knows what is what, and so when incident happens, and white hackers can use the white paper as a guidance to help to resolve the issue and potentially finding fixes.
I would say that from the beginning, you need to get low-hanging fruits. Specifically for your question, at least get a consultation with the security specialist, because a lot of projects are built without it in mind at all, and after that, the reversing some decisions are very hard and time-consuming. So initially, understanding your use case, find out from the security perspective how better to build it, and it will save you a lot of money and time. It's, I would say, number one. And don't reinvent something that is working. There is definitely a place of innovation, but innovate in the thing that you want to differentiate, not innovate in things that are not critical for you.
Yeah, so use standard tokens, standard practices, just innovate on the thing that you think is the killer feature in your app, and we'll see later for the rest. That's good. Okay.
Yeah. So it's about how to build your uniqueness, but in more safe environment with more reliability and so on.
So this led me to the next subject I want to talk about. I know that Hacken is having Hacken Proof as a platform. You guys also have your own subnet dedicated to that red team, if I'm correct. What type of company should use it? At what stage? How is this working? I think it's obviously I'm going to name others because we don't want to promote anything in specific case. So we have Unify, we got Kadari now, things like these. This type of platform, I personally think this is very helpful for the project, and it's a way also to lead them to understand that there is people that are white hat hacker or just curious that are literally spending time, because it's also a way for them to learn and try to stay ahead of the game in terms of security. And so it's a way for them to have a framework when they can express themselves without like taking all the you were talking about compliance, etc., but the legal risks that come with hacking. So I would like you guys to talk a little bit about those type of platform. Obviously, Jason, if you also have an idea on that.
Sure. So we launched what we describe as an ethical hacking platform because we believed it was the most effective way to build our cybersecurity SaaS products. The name of the game specifically within the risk signals that we provide is the speed of reverse detection for new threats that you see on the market. And we were unable to find other platforms that really had a engaged community of hackers that were specialized within a particular space. And I would argue that you can create that community quite effectively through good incentives as well. We didn't necessarily need engineers that were specialized in bot detection, device fingerprinting, and VPN detection, for example. But through something like BitTensor, if you provide a motivating incentive for those people, these are very interesting engineers who can learn very quickly. One thing I would emphasize as well is it's an enormous challenge to create effective bounty programs. You're engaging with a community that are specialized in gaming systems, right? So to be able to channel that into R&D that actually functions really well, where people aren't just going to sort of, they will follow the path of least resistance. So when we look at platforms like HackerOne, for example, extremely high scale and a bunch of top tier brands using them, I would definitely question how much value they're really deriving from this, because they don't have specialized engineers that are constructing these bounties in the first place.
Yeah, one of the, first of all, I think, among us, Hacken Proof probably has the longest history of running the bug bounty platform, similarly as Immunify. But one of the things, after that, there are also this so-called competitive auditing platforms, such like Sherlock and then Code4 Arena and things. One of the things that we just noticed recently is that on one of the bounties that's sponsored by the Code4 Arena, there were 4,500 leads being submitted to one single project.
This is a huge number.
and we start taking a look at what's in there, and we start realizing that it's a lot of the AI, so-called AI tools are generating those leads, which actually, in one sense, kind of start diluting the quality of the leads to the bug bounties. And we don't know, frankly speaking, we don't have a good solution. I mean, we don't know if that's a problem that we can solve altogether. But so to bring back to your question is that I think bug bounty, we think it's a very necessary step it's a good tool to provide, after on-chain deployment security services. But it's also facing new challenges as well.
I can tell you a little bit about how we are playing with Hacken Proof, because we are playing with our products. I was telling you about the Swiss cheese model. So we are, like in a nutshell, we are providing an audit. After that, we are providing the dual defense. What does it mean? We are submitting the program on Hacken Proof, saying, hey, white hats, please, after us, find vulnerabilities and get 80% of the audit cost that we get from the client. So we are challenging our own auditors and verifying their quality. And yeah, there is some gamification with the community, but we are utilizing Hacken Proof for that. Of course, bug bounty in the classical way. Of course, the monitoring incident response platform after that. But also, what we are doing with Hackenproof, we are allowing the protocols get to the closed programs to have ability to test before they go live. And it's also like pretty unique ability because you're verifying who exactly are going to test you and how. So yeah, in a nutshell.
Yeah, this is why I was asking this question, because obviously knew how it was working on your side, and I think that from a, obviously I'm not speaking for the entire world, but I think money is not always the biggest motivation, even if crypto is mainly about money. The recognition and having a chance also to network through that, because when you've been recognized as someone that did whatever XYZ hack, etc., you gain exposure into this market, and then it's easier for you to tap into next project you want to work with or create or whatever. So I think the gamification of this this process of bug bounty is also a huge leverage for any project or platform that want to do it on top of the money. And I would say that if a protocol starts and they don't have money to put on the table up front for making a bounty program, just put a number on the paper and see what's happening, because if something happened, that would mean that a bad actor could have done it also. So you would rather lost this money than lost the entire protocol. So you don't need to freeze this money for an indeterminate period of time. Just put the price and let the market decide whether you're at risk or not.
I would add a little bit to that, because 2 points, very important. First of all, you need to be fair and the program should be relevant. Because if the motivation for the hacker is very low, very small, it's not worth it. So motivation should be also reasonable. It's number one. Number two, you definitely need to give a proper way to the hacker to like get at least something for his efforts.
And communicate also.
Yes, 100%. So in some cases and sometimes, if your protocol hacked and there is no ability for communication, for getting it the right way, like you will get really hacked, and that's bad.
And I think we will see a major shift in the industry after what happened with Bybit, because the way they managed let's say the crisis from the communication point of view, the action that they've done before, the incentive, ton of people that wasn't really after any type of hack suddenly were interested and helped them to retrieve and freeze as much money as possible. And we were playing against Lazarus, so those guys are never found, and it's really hard to stop them. So we had the first big example that what it is to concretely well manage a crisis and have the help from a community that just ask you to give you the opportunity to help you. So yeah, thank you for saying that. Very interesting. So we are on the 5 last minutes of this panel. I want to give the opportunity to crowd to ask question or anything if you guys have. If not, we're going to continue. Yeah, go ahead. That's a tough question.
I would say that the responsibility all the time is on project, because the project basically holds the promises that they gave to their clients. And from one perspective, I was telling about the market demands. Is the market only asked from the project, give us an audit of our token, and that's enough? It's easier thing to do from the CEO of the project perspective. It's easiest, and he will focus on the product market fit because he cares about this the most. But it's project responsibility to prioritize this, but it's also the market understanding that it's not enough, and we need to get both ways here. okay, what are the small steps that we can take to get security on a little bit higher level? For example, the platform that we built inside called Extractor, it's about on-chain monitoring security and incident response. The price is 10K per year. Project startups are spending more on side events. And it's just about prioritization. What exactly are you feeding here? Security, customer trust, or side events?
That I agree as well. Just for your information, CertiK is not only conducting the auditing work, through the projects. We are also active contributors to the bug bounty programs as well. So we do hacking, white hat hacking as well.
Any other question? That was a very, very good question. Any other good question? No? I think we're going to end here. The timer is almost out. Thank you very much, guys, for the talk. It was a pleasure to moderate this talk. Thank you very much for being there today, and I wish you a great end of the event.
Yeah.
Thank you.